Hello and welcome to GEOSCOPE with me, Graham Hughes, and Ollie Bowler Hatman. How you doing, Ollie?
I'm
You
all
right?
right. I'm doing well, as they
Did I
say.
put the slugs in the right place? Yes, I did. Yes.
Oh,
My names have come up on the screen and everything. Professional. So as we are broadcast, hello to everyone in the chat, everyone watching. As we've gone live, there's news coming out from Israel that there's a possible hostage deal, which will involve 50 hostages that the Hamas people have hold of. They're going to be returned to Israel in return for 150 Palestinian prisoners who are being held by the Israelis, and it's being voted on as we speak. I don't know if it's finished being voted on, but it's being voted on as we speak in
yep.
The Israeli Parliament, I think.
Yeah, the Knesset.
So we'll get the results of that. We'll let you know as soon
Hope,
as we
like
get
I say,
into it. But
hopefully that will
we've got a
go
few
good.
things to talk about today, and if you want, are we going to just dive straight into the madness in Argentina, or do you want to talk about Musk? You were going to tell me something about Musk. Should we talk about Musk
Oh,
first?
yeah, let's start with Musk, because Musk has had a really bad week. And I think everyone knows about his story about all the big advertisers dropping out. I mean, you've got Disney, Apple, Microsoft, IBM. When you've got advertisers of that size dropping out, and bear in mind, these companies have ad budgets in like the billions.
Yeah.
You are in pretty big trouble if they start pulling out of your platform. So, first of all, there was all that going on in one area.
Yeah.
But if you are in Sweden, you might already know about this, because this was another story that came up.
Sweden.
So, the dock workers in Sweden are
This is about
blockading
Tesla.
and refusing to unload Tesla cars.
Oh, because it's like a solidarity thing, isn't it, with the unions? Because the Tesla
Yep.
people in Sweden, are they not allowed to go on strike? Because or have they gone on strike and Musk is
They've
not happy about it?
gone on strike. And Musk is very, 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 very much anti-union. So he refuses to negotiate with them. So in Sweden, you've got engineers
Yeah.
refusing to fix Tesla charging points. You've got mechanics refusing to fix Tesla cars. You've got cleaners refusing to clean the Tesla showrooms. You've now got dock workers refusing to unload Tesla cars into the country.
Oh my God.
It's
Jesus.
yeah, all because he just refuses to negotiate
He
with
doesn't agree
unions.
with unions, does he? Because
No.
he thinks that they shouldn't exist for some reason.
Yep. And
Because
this will be whole
I
part of
know
his
what the
new.
reason is.
Oh well, this
It's
will be whole
frustrating.
part of his new city that he's building in. I think it's Texas, called
Yeah.
Snailbrook.
Sorry, Musk is building a city.
Yes.
Why?
You may remember he built this big gigafactory
Is
in,
this
I
going to be
think,
like
Texas or something.
Fordlandia in the Brazilian rainforest?
Hmm?
Fordlandia. It was the
Oh
model
yes, yeah.
town that
Mm.
Henry Ford had built in the Amazon rainforest, and it all went horribly, horribly wrong very, very rapidly.
Yeah, this could probably go horribly wrong as well.
So what's it
'Cause
called?
Snailbrook.
Snailbrook.
Mm.
Sexy.
And this is, in fact, I don't know if you remember some time ago, it wasn't one of the Labour socials. I recommended, I think it was you and Wayne, a book um, called "A Libertarian Runs into a Bear." I think it was.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's about the
Uh,
reality of
mm,
libertarians, what they want.
yeah.
But
And it was about a town that libertarians actually went and set up in America, and well, got overrun
it
by
just it just
hungry
went
bears
horribly, horribly wrong.
and and for comedy value, a llama named Hurricane.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
definitely recommend giving it a read. But he is also basing it off these libertarian principles,
Yeah.
and this is in a desert.
Yeah.
So expect probably a book in the not too distant future about the disaster that happened at Snailbrook, where probably people had no water to their houses, or didn't really own their houses because they did a contract with Elon Musk to work at his
God,
factory, and then he
why
got
do people
fired.
fall for this, man? So another crypto bro went down today, didn't he? He's been fined $50 million. This is the guy from
FTX.
Bintra. No, the other guy, Binnacle. No, what's it called? There was a tech bro who just got fined $50 million today, and he was like the rival. Binance, that's it. Binnacle. What am I talking about? Binance. I think he was the guy who may have brought down FTX, but yeah, he's admitted guilt and he's agreed to a $50 million fine, so he doesn't go to
Get out of jail.
jail.
Get out of jail payment, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. And also in the news today, this is a bit close to home. I know we're talking about international news, but I just love this. This afternoon, the High Court found it reasonable for protesters to call Ian Duncan Smith Tory scum.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cheers to the judge.
Cheers to that. Well, that reminds me of a long time ago. There was a court case in which a Formula One driver was injured and he went into court to claim compensation. And the judge basically said, "Did you get in the car? Yes. Did you drive at 200 miles an hour? Yes. Did anyone make you do that? No. So court case dismissed. Get out." It's just like, well, but yeah, it's interesting all the same. So and we've got other news as well coming. Well, we've got to talk about Musk because he's all his advertisers are pulled out. Breaking Twitter.
Plug this, yes. Don't know if you can see it. Oh, it keeps on
disappearing. You need to.
It's called, it is Breaking
Twitter by Ben Mesrich.
Very, very good, by the way. If you want a really good book to explain the whole downfall of Twitter.
When did that come out? Does that just come out this week or something? Is that hot off the press?
Yeah, hot off the press.
Well, Linda Yaccarino, who is the now CEO of Twitter, has been trying to do some damage limitation. Because what's happened is all these advertisers have left, and there's a company, well, not a company, there's a charity in America, or an organization in America, I should say, called Media Matters. And it's a bit like our Stop Funding Hate. And all they've done is pointed out to all these big tech companies, well, all these big companies like IBM and Apple and Microsoft, that their adverts are going out alongside anti-Semitic content. And so they've pulled the plug on advertising coming in, which I think was something like 95% of the revenue of Twitter. Yep. Twitter's quite an interesting sort of case study in how long it takes to build up these things. It had hundreds of millions of active users every day. Not as many as Pinterest, I'll point out, but not as many as Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. But it had a good number, but it wasn't.
Oh, it was a very good number.
Yeah, it wasn't until 10 years after it was launched, more than 10 years, that it actually managed to turn a profit. So, and then it ran a profit for a few years. And then Musk came along, bought it for 44 billion, which is probably about...
way overpriced.
44 billion more than it's worth now. And, set about destroying it. Do you think he's done it on purpose?
Oh, well, and let's also remember, he also tried to pull out after trying to buy it.
Oh yeah, and he got forced to buy it by the court, didn't he?
He got forced to buy it.
Yeah, he got forced to buy it. I've changed my mind. I want to come back in.
This is the interesting question about this. Did he do it on purpose?
I've made a terrible mistake.
I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. I think Elon is one of these people who generally thinks he is like this amazing genius who is out to save the world.
Yeah, but he's really thick.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He thinks he's a genius, but he's actually thick, and he is a walking Dunning-Kruger effect because he's so stupid he doesn't realize how incapable he is, and he's just been really lucky.
He knew nothing about how to run a social media company. I mean, you've just mentioned the new COO, Linda
Yaccarino.
Linda Yaccarino. She was brought in specifically to try and win back advertisers.
Yeah.
and yet she has been constantly fighting fire after fire after fire of Elon Musk. And one of the fun things in this book, honestly, well, you can't see it. One of the fun things in that book is
in your
honestly,
invisible book.
yeah, just the amount of times you've got like Elon is about to do something really stupid.
Yeah.
And then someone has to come along and go, look at the keys, Elon, look at the keys, look at the keys, don't look at that, just look at the keys, and generally try and, talk him down. And do you remember when he went to war with Apple?
Yes, because what was it? It was
Yeah, they
something to
charged
do with
30% from their
the
app store.
charge, the App
Mm.
Store. Yeah, that's right. And he
Which,
didn't
bear in
want.
mind, is huge, but you then have access to all their users who use iPhones. So, it's a trade-off,
Yeah,
but
I
at the end
know,
of the day,
but
it's worth
I'm
it.
kind of a little bit. I'd never thought I'd say this, but I'm kind of a little bit on Musk's side on this one. But we do this with our YouTube stuff. I mean, if we get super chats, a chunk of that goes to YouTube. But I just look at it like if we were doing a stand up or something, if we were doing a live event,
Yeah,
the venue would want to cut. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
actually, it's less than the venue would actually charge for the same sort of audiences that we get.
yeah.
So yeah,
Actually,
I
it
yeah
swings and roundabouts, as they say.
yeah swings and roundabouts.
And that story is that you have a first-hand eyewitness account from the woman who was in there with Elon Musk, who had to say, "Hey, if you go to war with Apple,
Yeah,
Apple's going to turn around and go, um, in Twitter 1.0, as Elon calls it, before he took over. All these porn accounts that we have on Twitter that we haven't really
oh god, that happened
addressed.
to me yesterday. Like honestly, I went on Twitter. I just finished. I think I just finished the show with Supertansky last night, and I went on Twitter, and the first thing on Twitter was a lady's lady parts. Let's put it that way. And I was just like, what the hell? Because I know that it's there if you look for it, but I've never had it just pop up like for you. Here you go, and I'm like, I'm okay. Are you
Yeah,
gonna like? Are you
it's
gonna
gotten even
recommend your
worse.
mum to go on
It's
Twitter?
got even worse under Elon. But under Apple's terms and conditions, that you can't have that. And Apple's been willing to overlook that. And they said, look, if you go to war with Apple, they'll just
Yeah.
turn around and go, you're breaking our terms and conditions. Bye bye. No more Twitter on Apple iPhones.
Oh shit.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that'd
And
be
you have
good
to talk
now, wouldn't
about
it?
that.
Because I'm kind of at the point now where I just kind of want Twitter to basically die. I mean, it's vile. It's allowing the neo Nazis to run around unmolested, unpunched, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And he's had Haiti Hopkins is back on it. Tommy Ten Names is back on it. Uh, is that a horrible little Andrew Taint creep? Is he back on it as well?
Yeah, I think they've pretty much all been allowed back on, unfortunately.
Trump. This is a big
Yeah.
one. But yeah, I want Twitter to fail now. And I sort of thought, oh, it'll piss off after a few months. They'll get bored of it, and then we can take Twitter back. But I think it's gone too far now. And we got
No,
Threads anyway.
it's dead. It's dying. It is a ceased platform to be.
Yeah, yeah,
It was alive when he bought it.
yeah.
Not anymore.
Captain Bart Roberts in the chat is saying, I'm not sharing my porn habits with a social media website. Very good advice there, sir. Will Musk get kagoshied? Kagoshied? I don't know if that's is that a verb now? Paul says the racing driver probably fell foul of Voletti non-fit injuria, a legal principle that relates to someone taking a risk upon themselves by their action stroke choice. Elon Musk gives Dumbo a bad name.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, leave Dumbo alone. Dumbo wasn't actually stupid, it's just called Dumbo. and it can fly for some reason. And that film's a little bit racist, so let's not talk about it. Looks like the dark-haired love child of Trump and Fabricant. That's from David Peacock talking, obviously, about Javier Milei, who's just been elected president of the South American country of Argentina, which was 125 years ago the richest country in the world per capita. It was richer than the United States of America.
Yep. Now 140% inflation.
Do you think this crazy guy is going to bring that down?
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh god,
Yeah,
we shouldn't laugh.
yeah.
It's going to be horrible for the Argentinians who are lovely people and don't go out club until midnight.
Well,
You got to love
well,
that.
that's
Love the effort. But yeah,
again,
it's
never been to
heartbreaking.
Argentina, but somewhere I've wanted to go. Never had the chance to go yet to South America, but no, somewhere I want to go. Some of my
I'll
list
hold
of-
off for a bit if I were you, my friend. I
Mm,
mean, these right wing libertarian fuckbags. I mean, they're like whack a mole, aren't they? You get rid of Bolsonaro, and then this other fucking prick
no.
pops up. You get rid of Trump, and then Marine Le Pen's going to be running again in France for being the fascist leader of France. Because
There is,
you may as well finish off what the Nazis started.
oh well, well, Argentina, as we joke about,
Oh, that's where they all went to, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Oh shit! You don't think Javier Milei is actually the bastard love grandson of Hitler?
That would be wild if it was, but
Could be true. He does take political advice from his dead dog, and he runs around with a chainsaw, and he pretends to be a superhero, doesn't he? What's his superhero name?
Yep, his superhero name is Captain ANCAP because he is an anarcho-capitalist.
Oh,
And for those of you who don't know what an
that
anarcho-capitalist
works
means,
so well in Somalia.
he is, what's the best way to describe this? He wants completely free markets with 0% government involvement. So no regulations whatsoever. The government should just not be in the business of any kind of regulation, and people should be as free as possible up to, again, point of serious injury of
Yes.
anything they like to do.
Yes, and he wants to bring in lots of guns, but also isn't he anti-abortion at the same time? So he's not that libertarian, and he's not going to legalize all drugs.
Yeah, and that's the other point about Argentina, where this is sort of quite distressing that this guy comes in, because they were the first country to legalize abortion in South America.
Yeah.
And I think with 3 years out of them doing that, gone.
You think he's going to get rid of it?
Oh yeah, I think he's gonna.
What's the political landscape there, though? I mean, is he really going to have the power to do stuff?
Well,
'Cause obviously, we were shitting one when Trump got in 2016, but his power, even though he had control of the Senate, and of the what's it called, and of the House of Representatives,
yeah.
he did fuck all for 2 years. Said he was going to build a wall, didn't build a wall. Said he was going to ban Muslims, didn't ban Muslims. Said he was going to, what was it? Make America great again? Didn't make it great. And then in the midterms, the Democrats took over in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, didn't they? So he was snookered from then on. But I mean, how much power does the Argentinian president really have?
Well, this is it. I think he's got
Should
roughly
the
the same amount as
Republicans be
Trump
worried?
has. So he was going to probably make like declarations, like
Right.
Trump did his whole presidential, what is it now? President can
mouth
do
and
it.
no
Presidential
trousers.
order. That's it.
Yeah.
So he can come in and he can do that. In their Senate and their House of Representatives that they have, he's technically a third party. He only has, I think, 8 seats in one and 5 in the other. So to get anything permanent passed
Yeah.
is going to be incredibly difficult, I think, for him to do and achieve.
Okay.
But he will try and push these things through. There's a lot of people saying that on the campaign trail, he was talking about dollarizing the currency and closing down the
Yes.
central bank.
I heard about that.
That would be economic suicide for Argentina if that happened. Like, you just don't get rid of your central bank. Your central bank has shown throughout history to be an incredibly good engine of
What
the
what
state
what
for
if we're wrong? What if this is the way that you create? Um, he doesn't want peace and harmony, does he? He wants
no,
everyone fighting
it's
on the streets and killing
it's
each other.
chaos. He just wants everyone to be
It's
free.
agent of chaos.
Um, this is where you get huge problems because if you get rid of your central bank and then you dollarize your economy, and bear in mind, Argentina's done this before actually, but not like this, not as
Yeah.
deep as this. The last time they did this, they tied the peso to the price of the dollar. So it was sort of like, well, if the
Mm,
dollar is at this amount, we're going to set our currency to this amount. That didn't work out too well. That caused mass riots, almost an overthrow of the government, and essentially that policy ended very relatively quickly.
yeah.
This is completely well all in, shall we say, to use the gambling phrase, because they are completely giving up any economic control of their currency to Washington.
Yeah.
And what is good for Washington is not necessarily going to be good for Argentina.
Right.
You cannot just give up your economic independence and
Yeah.
freedom just to go, there you go, Washington, you're now
Well,
running our currency.
Ecuador uses the dollar. El Salvador uses the dollar, and also went really mad for crypto for some reason. They had a lot
Yeah.
of crypto cash machines that no one used.
Mm.
But yeah, it's almost as though crypto is a massive con. But yeah, it's something that some African countries do de facto just because their currency is so unstable. The good example being Zimbabwe when they had
Mm.
insane inflation. You could get $100 trillion bills out of Zimbabwe, and yeah, so they just basically use the dollar.
Yeah, it doesn't seem this is going to work out too well for Argentina. I mean, if you've seen a lot of people talking about this on Threads, to plug Threads, and on Twitter as well, they've talked about this how he's suddenly stopped talking about it now that he's in, and people think that he's going to be a lot more moderated. Whether that actually happens and it turns out to be
Yeah.
true,
Dick and Sonia in the chat is saying he definitely acts unhinged. Maybe yeah, maybe it is just all a big act because he
yeah.
knows, playing the clown.
Well,
Playing the clown prince. He'll come in with his easy solutions and save the day. But
yeah,
I had.
get the attention.
Did you ever watch the show Narcos
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember
about
Narcos now. Yeah.
about Pablo Escobar?
Mm.
And at one point he got elected into the Parliament or the Congress or whatever it's called of Colombia. And he turns up and he's not wearing a tie, and he's just like everyone just like turns on him, and no one wants anything to do with him because they know he's a gangster.
Mm.
And I think that's the same sort of reception this guy's going to get.
One of my favorite drug running stories was when I can't remember which cartel tried to buy it, a former Russian nuclear submarine to do drug running with.
Oh wow,
Yes.
that's one way of doing it.
Yeah,
Doctor
that's a story.
Doctor Rapper Band wants to know if I'm slandering crypto again. I don't need to slander crypto, mate. It does a perfectly good
It does
job of slandering itself
itself.
on an almost daily basis.
I mean, it, so most of you might have known I was at a conference this week, and one of the days that we were there, we actually had someone come in from a crypto exchange,
Why?
and
Why?
oh, it was meant to be part of this whole digital day of
Reckoning?
transformation, etc. stuff going on. Because we're an international organization, we've got a
Did
couple
anyone
of
lose the house?
possibly, who knows. But yeah, they were saying about how they had benefited from FTX collapsing. So that doesn't seem very good business to be in for me. But
How
whatever.
long's Sam Bankman-Fried going to go to jail for? What is it? 20,000 years? QA Library says Standard & Poor's just downgraded Argentina's credit rating from C to CCC minus.
Oof.
Um, CCC is the lowest any country can get.
And
Don't invest in Argentina, peeps.
oh, this is another interesting question, because this is actually raises a practical question. Because what if he does dollarize his currency?
Yeah,
Where does Argentina suddenly get all these dollars from?
and where do its pesos go?
Exactly. There's a big
Where do all the
physical
pesos go?
question.
As
Where do
Richard
all these
Fryer
dollars
asked him
come from to for people to start
diplomatically.
spending? America's not going to print more dollars for Argentina to use, because that
Yeah,
would cause a problem in its own economy.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's enough dollars out there, mate. The thing is with dollars, right? The American economy, it's essentially based on the fact that all transactions of oil anywhere in the world, so if Dutch Shell pump some oil out the ground in, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, it has to be bought in US dollars. It can't be bought in euros. It can't be bought in any other currency, not Saudi Arabian reals or whatever they have there. No, it's got to be American dollars, which effectively gives them a license to print money because they can never really default. So I don't think they need to worry about it. There's so many dollars out there around the world.
I don't know, when you've got to replace like an entire country's economy with dollars.
Yeah, but you don't, do you? Most money now, it's sort of electronic. Do you think it's going to make that much of a difference?
I think it will in the long run, because at the end of the day, you've got to have the physical cash. You've got to
Yeah,
actually be able to point to it. This is where your central bank would come in,
yeah,
because your central bank would be the one controlling the reserves of currency.
yeah.
But Argentina doesn't have any dollars in its reserve currency because of
Mm,
its inflation problems that it's have. It's having 140% inflation. So it's
yeah,
had to spend all those dollars that it's had in reserve
yeah.
to keep the country running in some cases.
But
So
yeah.
where does he
But,
get all these dollars? That's a massive question. And if he does do it,
mm, mm,
um,
mm.
yeah, bad time for Argentina, I think.
FT Umstruck says Farage should get his own cryptocurrency called Gitcoin. I like that. Job is saying banks can just create their own money. I don't see it as a problem as long as they don't use cash. Yeah, I'm thinking that as well. Like, yeah, I think it's possible. It's a big country, but it's not. It means 45 million
Mhm.
people. I don't know. Dick and Sonia wants to know what's happening behind Bowler Hat Man. It's your mad physics laboratory, isn't
Yes, welcome to my physics lab today.
it? QA Library wants to know how much gold has Argentina got. Don't know, not enough. It's
Yeah,
named
probably
after
not.
silver. It's got a lot of silver. I don't
Mhm.
know. Tommy is asking, Graham, do you have a problem with the policy and terms and conditions when you sign up to Threads? Yes. Threads is not available in the EU
Yep.
because it's really intrusive. Like, and also until I think last week or pretty recently, you couldn't get rid of your account once you got it without also losing your Instagram account, which is a bit naughty, to say the
Yep.
least. Um,
Yep. I don't think it's going to be available in the EU for quite some time.
yeah. But I do want to have something like Twitter without the constant assailing of my mental health that exists on Twitter. Because you put a tweet up saying, it's a lovely day today. And then you get about 100 hate tweets telling you to go kill yourself. So I'm like, I just don't want that. I just don't need that in my life. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just,
And I think the tools on it are going to get better. We've
yeah.
now got a desktop version.
And you can edit. You can edit your bloody
Yep.
threads. You got like a 5-minute thing. If you write something, you got 5 minutes. You can change it. So a typo, there's nothing worse. Well, I mean, there's worse things than this. But I mean, like Hitler, AIDS. But like, yeah, Hitler
Yeah.
cancer. But like, you write this tweet, spend ages putting it together, and you press enter, and then you realize you've written in instead of it, and it just makes the whole thing look silly. You have to delete it, and well, you have to swipe it. Control C, delete it. Control V.
Oh, you've spelt they instead of they. You've
Yeah,
used the wrong they. I'm like,
yeah.
oh no.
I've done it before where I've corrected it by deleting it and then copy and pasted the same tweet and then pressed send, and then gone, oh, I didn't change that spelling mistake, and then I did it again. So yeah, I'm sick of that. So yeah, having that functionality is good, but yeah, I do find it a bit intrusive. However, I'm well aware that a lot of my life is online. It's something that you just have to sort of take it in your stride if you make as much content as I do. So yeah, I'm a little less bothered about that, but I don't put any personal stuff on there on Twitter. I don't really put much personal stuff on Facebook these days either, because it's personal stuff. Keep that separate. They don't need to know. And don't let people know when you're on holiday, because they'll come and rob your house. Top tip there. Yeah. So just moving on slightly. We might circle back to Millet in Argentina. You were telling me that Guyana and Venezuela looks like it's all about to kick off.
Oh yes. Oh yes. this was like, oh my, when I saw this. So I want you to take this, Graham, because you can explain the territorial dispute, and then I'll pick up what's going on in like the last couple of months that's kicked off in Venezuela.
So TLDR, which is a channel well worth following on YouTube, have a video called "Is Venezuela About to Annex Guyana?" So you have the countries of South America. 9 of them are Latino countries, and then and they speak either Portuguese in Brazil, or the other countries all speak Spanish. And then you got these 3 little weird countries at the top of the continent, little chunks of land at the top. They're like 3 little teeth at the top of South America. And there's Guyana, which used to be called British Guyana. There is Suriname, which used to be called Dutch Guyana. And there's French Guyana, which is still called French Guyana, and still part of France. If you ever have a look on the back of a euro banknote, you'll see there's a little bit of South America, the top right bit of South America on the back of the banknote. So they were the Guyanas, and that was like the other countries that went to Spain and Portugal's little, inroads into the jungle up there. Now, for a very, very, very long time, there was a dispute between, since the beginning of it all, I guess, the dispute between Venezuela, which is next door, and Guyana. And basically, Guyana, a big chunk of it up to a certain river. I don't think it's the whole country that they want to annex, but whenever you see a map of Venezuela, in Venezuela, it has a sort of pattern over, like a hatching pattern over that part of Guyana, and it says over the western part of Guyana, and it says Zona del Reclamación or something, zone to be reclaimed. And so that they've had their eyes on it for a long time. For a long time, people looked at it and went, well, why would you want that? It's just useless jungle. But now that it looks like there might be some mineral deposits there, and obviously Venezuela is not doing so well. Should we say that? Venezuela, it's kind of like the UK of South America, or maybe we're the Venezuela of Europe. They pulled out of all of their trade agreements that they had with other countries in the region because they wanted to go it alone, and they wanted to stand up against America and stand on their own 2 feet, and it all turned absolutely horrible. They've had Maduro in power, and he's been in power since the last guy carked it. They call the people there have lost so much, and people have lost so much weight that they say they're on the Maduro diet because they don't fit in there. Well, they have to use rope to keep the trousers up these days. And loads of young people have fled Venezuela over the last 10 years or so to go and work in other countries in South America and Central America. So much so that countries like Panama have had to really clamp down on people overstaying their visas or overstaying their entry stamps in their countries. I say they had to. They didn't have to do that, but they have done. And it's because of all the people coming over from Venezuela for a better life. So I'm guessing, and you'll probably be able to tell me more about this because I didn't know that things were kicking off till you just said. I'm guessing that the Venezuelan government is going, oh dear, we're getting quite unpopular now because people have had 20 years of living in abject poverty. What should we do? I know, let's have a war with our neighbors and that'll make us popular again. Is that right?
It's more than that.
Oh, okay.
So Venezuela has disputed the border it has with Guyana, because obviously this was drawn by us, the British, back in the day,
Yeah.
and they've disputed that since Guyana got its independence, and they have claimed. Hang on. Let me get up the map.
Well, they claimed it when it was still British Guyana. It's literally half of the, there you go. It's half of the country, isn't it?
Oh yes, I've got new technology, so we can go. This, of course, is the. Hang on. Let me get the. Oh, where's my pen? Oh, there we go. All right.
Oh, Ollie, where have you gone? Oh no, it's all gone horribly wrong.
Oh no, I'm still here.
It's okay.
I'm still here. um, don't worry. So yeah, this is. Hang on. Okay, so this is the border in question that was drawn, and of course, this is the river that Graham was talking about. So essentially, they're talking about all this.
Wow. That was very neatly drawn.
I know. I know. Excellent drawing skills.
That is fantastic drawing skills.
And
So
recently,
it's literally 2/3 of Guyana that they think is theirs, right?
it's a whole heap of land they want to annex. But they've taken this issue to the UN, and they've gone to the UN and said, "Hey, this is ours. We want this to be ours. Give us this land, effectively." And the UN has turned around and said, "No, this needs to be an international court decision." The international courts have turned around and said, "No." Venezuela unhappy with that decision, so
Well, of course they're going
we've
to say
got
no.
they've got a referendum
A referendum in Venezuela,
in Venezuela,
not in Guyana.
not in Guyana, in
Okay.
Venezuela,
Can I
and they
just
are going
pop
to
in?
ask
Can I
them.
just pop in for a second? Just explain some things.
Oh yeah,
I just pop back in. So you got to understand, Guyana is part of CARICOM. It's part of the Caribbean community. They drive on the left. They speak English. They play cricket. They've got a beautiful presidential palace, which is made of wood. It's a wonderful place, but it's like not at all like Venezuela. It's just not. This isn't like a Spanish-speaking country, taking land off another Spanish-speaking country like Paraguay and Bolivia back in the day in the 1930s. This is a country that is very, very culturally different in many, many ways, trying to take over 2/3 of someone else's country. This is, yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'll back to
oh
Ollie.
yeah, it's like so. Pardon me. Oh, there we go. Pardon me. I've come back with a terrible cold. my Swiss cough.
Oh no.
Oh dear. Sorry. So what's happened? So referendum. The question on this referendum, or questions, shall we say, that Venezuela is asking its people is, so the international courts have said no to us annexing this part of Guyana. Do you want us to ignore international law and annex Guyana?
Yeah.
That is what they are asking. There's 5 questions on this referendum that is being put out, and they are advocating, the government of Maduro is advocating the Venezuelan people all to vote yes. Now, once again, why is Venezuela after this? Because it isn't
Oil.
just yep, it
Oil.
isn't just
I'm gonna
about
guess it's oil. Is
isn't
it
just
oil?
about land, because there is.
Is the answer oil?
Oh, hang on.
Do we win a prize if it's oil? What do we win? Do we win a lollipop?
You win this fantastic Canadian maple syrup seed that I got.
Yes,
Which are
get
really
in.
nice.
I want that and a gold star. Is it oil? Have they found oil? And now everyone wants the oil.
Hang on, there we go. So there is a massive deposit of oil
Okay.
there.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so the Venezuela wants the oil.
And this has been what has been driving Guyana's economy massively. So they've
Yeah.
been putting these into all of its. Oh, there we go. I'll stop presenting. There we go.
Oh,
Oh,
hello.
well. So yeah, they have been driving this. This is what been driving their economy since 2015, since this was
Yeah.
initially discovered. This oil field, they've basically found there's even more oil than they initially thought down there,
Yeah.
and a lot of people like ExxonMobil are coming in to Guyana, making big investments into the country. The country is growing exponentially economically because of this. It is set to become a very, very rich country based on these oil discoveries.
Right.
But of course, Venezuela wants these oil discoveries because its economy isn't that good.
Can I just explain that Venezuela has the biggest oil deposits in the world. That
Yeah,
is ridiculous. So they already have this is like Russia invading Georgia. It's like, oh, sorry, I've got the biggest country in the world, but it's not big enough. It needs to be a bit bigger. Let's take South Ossetia. Let's take Abkhazia. Let's take Crimea. Let's take the Donbass region. I mean, just what's it's so frustrating. So this is going to a referendum. The Nazis' favorite democratic device, and
mm,
they're basically saying, "Shall we go for war with our oil-rich neighbor, who is going to get everyone in the Caribbean countries screaming for European countries that used to be part of, well, still are. I mean, you're
yeah,
nearby to Venezuela are the ABC Islands. They're still Dutch. It's Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. You've also got places like Martinique, Guadeloupe, Saint Martin, which is French, and Saint Martin's French Dutch. And then you've got British islands like the Montserrat and what's it called? Saint Kitts and no, that's an independent country. Caicos, Turks and Caicos, and of course the famous Cayman Islands, where British ne'er do wells like to store
yeah,
away their money. So there's a lot of European interest still in the Caribbean countries, and this is I could see the American Navy going in
oh
to
yeah.
Venezuela. Is this what
Mm.
they want? Are they trying to trigger the Americans to do something daft?
Ah, well, Graham. Well, stop me if you've heard this one before. Venezuela has decided that it is going to send troops to the border to stop illegal mining operations.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
And remember when we've just talked about Ukraine and Russia, and we said this is one of the reasons why you have to stop Putin, because guess what? Other countries are going to try the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, and
What
and
would
and
possibly happen?
who's mates with Putin around the world? Let's have a look at the little list here. Oh, Venezuela. There you go. At top of the
Mhm.
list, if it's not alphabetical. And who else is mates with Putin? Iran. Who's funding Hamas? Oh, that's Iran. Okay, so Venezuela, Iran, North Korea. North. Oh, okay, they're having a fight with the South Koreans. Never finished the Korean War. It was just a ceasefire. The war is still
Yeah.
technically on.
So this could, yeah, this could spill over, and this referendum is going to take place in December, 1st of December. This
Wow.
referendum is going to take place,
Wow,
and
so that's next Friday.
if it does take place, and of course they do it, well, gee, Venezuela suddenly has a lot of troops stationed at the border of Guyana.
Oh, for God's sake, Guyana's such a beautiful country. Why would they do? Oh, I hate this fucking planet. Jesus Christ. Oh,
Um, yeah,
fighting over
welcome,
oil,
welcome to the
fighting over
wonderful
who
world
can
of
destroy the
podcasts.
planet the fastest. Meanwhile, we're heading to 3 degrees of global warming now. 3 degrees. 1.5 is the baseline for things staying relatively normal. 2 degrees is catastrophic. 3 degrees is we don't know if humans are going to survive this. And they're like the Venezuelan government are like, hey, do you know what the world needs right now? Another war over oil, and they already have the biggest oil reserves in the world, mate. Anyway, so I don't think that Venezuela is going to come out of this smelling of roses.
No, but this could lead to yet another war.
Wow.
Whether it ends up being something like, Ukraine, Russia, or maybe it ends up being like we've seen with Armenia, Azerbaijan, where Azerbaijan just went in and pretty much just steamrolled Armenia.
I think Guyana would have friends. Honestly, I think Guyana, don't forget, if you were born in Guyana before 1973, you're a British citizen, or at least you can get British citizenship. I think that they're playing with fire here. Could Guyana appeal to NATO? Yeah, absolutely. Things like this always remind me of that scene in the movie Blood Diamond, in which they're going through a village and the village has been burnt out and everyone's dead and everything's fucked. And there's an old man in the village and he says, looks around and this is all caused by people fighting over these bloody diamonds in Sierra Leone. And he says, let's hope they don't find oil because then our problem, then our troubles will really begin. Something like that. It's just, this is really shit. I really like Guyana. I really, really like Guyana. They have they have a thing that you buy called pepper pot, which is really nice. It's like their street food over there. Anyway, Jazz Hunt says that to be fair, I'm not sure we deserve the environment anymore. Just wipe us off the earth with a terrible mistake. We're not all a terrible mistake. Just this year, seawater off Florida reached 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything dies. I think Florida's just going to get flooded. Florida's going to go.
Oh yeah, if the flooding does happen, Florida's gone, which might not be a bad thing, to be honest. Given what Florida's produced over these many years.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems crazy that the place. Well, I mean, the one sort of Thanos click about global climate change is, although day to day it will affect developing countries more, developed countries are going to be just as fucked if the sea level rises, because you can't build a wall long enough, guys. It's the idea that you're going to build a big seawall like in Blade Runner 2049. You're not going to build a big seawall, not that long, not long enough to keep the entire ocean out. Because just think about this for a moment, right? Think how long the coastline of America is, right? If you don't build the wall all the way along the coastline, there's going to be a certain point where the water will get in behind and then fill up all what's behind it. I mean, come on. It's just, it's going to be the great state of Floodia, says Don Donovan. Sea level could increase by 20 meters, says number 3, which is correct.
Yeah, my only hope in this is that, as I think someone mentioned in the chat, is Venezuela just going for the mouse that's roaring?
Oh.
Are they doing this just because politically the government is in such a bad position?
Should we explain?
I hope that's the case.
Should we explain?
I hope that's the case, but then again, they have been making these claims about this area for quite some time.
So the Mouse That Roared was like a 1960s film with Peter Sellers in it. It's like a comedy, dark comedy, and it's about a small island nation that declares war on the United States because they're broke, and they think that they're going to basically win this. That the Americans are going to invade, take over, and then all their problems will be solved because they get all this international aid money will come in to rebuild the country. Unfortunately, things don't go to plan, and they end up winning the war against America. It's a very funny movie. It's a bit like the Producers, where they try and make the worst musical ever and turn out to be a massive hit. Same sort of idea, but great movie. Well worth checking out. When Peter Sellers was one of the funniest people on the planet, apparently. I thought he was quite good. It was quite good. But that's a bit of a worry. So we talked about Musk. Israel. Back to Israel for a moment. So I'm just seeing if so the cabinet is meeting at the moment, and there's been no updates apart from the US Secretary of Defense has spoken to his Israeli counterpart. That was 23 minutes ago.
Well, Netanyahu's put out a statement
Yes, saying the war will continue. Bullish.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we said, I think, right at the start. Your biggest two problems for peace in the Middle East: Hamas,
Yeah,
right-wing Israeli government.
yeah, yeah.
And
And there's a thing in the Israeli parliament that essentially means that these incredibly crazy religious types who are like, just absolutely bonkers religious, they have much more sway than they possibly should
mm,
have in the Israeli parliament because it is a religious state. It was founded on a religion, as other countries are as well. But when you get these absolute religious fanatics, they're a problem for the very reason that people like to say if religion gives you rules to live by, it doesn't give me rules to live by. But you've got them, and also in Israel, which kind of makes it a bit unique in the world. The Israeli nutters, the people who are these hyper religious lunatics in government, they're backed by many people in the US, many rich people in the US, rich Christians in the US, because they
doomsday
think
cult.
that, yeah,
Mm.
they think that they're heralding the second coming of Christ because of their reading of Apocalypse, or as you might know it, the Book of Revelation. Um, yeah, which was it Saint Peter's fever dream? Was it?
I think so. Or he was on mushrooms. Who knows? It was one of the two.
Let's try and interpret this stuff. Anyway, so yeah, just call me the whore of Babylon. Yeah, so it's just you've got this huge problem where you've got this territorial dispute, let's say, going on in Israel, Gaza, Palestine. That's been going on for decades now, but even before then, you've got this dispute between the religions that these religions of peace that just can't find
Yep.
a way of living together peacefully, which is incredibly frustrating for all of us. Not least the people who live in Israel and Palestine who want peace.
David Falconer with the super chat.
Thank you, David, for the super chat. If
Uh,
Argentina wanted to elect someone to solve all of their economic problems, they elected the correct person. With policies like those, there won't be an Argentina left within a year.
yeah.
Maybe Venezuela's missing a trick. Maybe it should invade Argentina. So Argentina can invade the Falklands, right? And then while they're away in their sunken battleship, which sunk in harbor, I think, did it a few years ago? The main battleship of the Argentinian Navy, it sunk in dock. It was. Anyway, yeah. So while they're off on a daft foreign military adventure, the Venezuelans, no, the Guyanans could. Oh, we're giving them terrible ideas here.
Yeah. Secretly, the Guyans are going to take over all of South America. That's what's really going to happen.
I
But
loved.
another thing I want to
Love
talk about
Guyana.
Argentina is because I don't know if you've heard about his economic policy beyond the dollarization of the peso.
Go on.
His big solution:
It's going to destroy the central
going to
bank.
stop trading
Oh,
with Brazil and China.
okay. Uh,
Just,
okay.
just no more trade with Brazil and China. Sorry,
Okay, that'll
guys.
work. Right.
Um, yeah, their economy. If he starts pushing through with these crazy, libertarian ideas, their economy is going to go down the toilet very fast, very, very fast indeed.
It's so
But there is,
frustrating that libertarianism has gained so much traction amongst the world's wealthy elites who, can afford to have their own private healthcare. They can afford their own private security, can afford to send their kids to private school. And the rest of us, like, we have to rely on the state. That's it, or we die. I mean, of things that we shouldn't die of. But they can't
well,
see
this is
that.
one of the bright points in this, Graham. This is one of the bright points. I'm going to try and
Okay.
leave you with some positivity.
Oh, thank God for that.
So
Please do.
we've tried this experiment. This as what it was back. It was called then Austrian economics back in
Right.
like the 1800s, and I think I've talked about this before, where the British Empire decided that it was going to basically lower all its tariffs to zero. You may, of course, remember not Elon Musk, Jacob Rees-Mogg, talking about this as a grand idea that they could do with Brexit. This is where he gets it from. So we tried this grand experiment, and it lasted 6 years.
Wow.
Lasted 6 years because we realized just how much of a disaster it was being to UK farmers at the time, because all the corn and wheat was coming from America and
Yeah.
completely destroying British agriculture. Who who knew such a thing could possibly happen again? um, but this is what they're going to try now here. And when they tried it back in the UK, it completely discredited Austrian economics for years. And hopefully, this is what's going to happen again. That this is going to discredit this whole idea of libertarianism. That if you do these things, it'll work out fantastic, amazing. Because Liz Truss tried the same thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
try all these crazy economic, free market fundamentalist ideas, and she's still out there trying to peddle them at the moment. But of course, what happened? She almost crashed the economy and almost destroyed the UK pension industry, which, if that had happened, the economic disaster that we got would have looked like a complete walk in the park on a nice summer's day with a nice, cool, crisp breeze, because we'd have been plunged into complete economic turmoil because the UK pension industry is so heavily invested in many areas of the UK economy. Um, yeah, I don't think this will be the last time we'll be covering potentially the ongoings in Argentina on this show. I think we'll be coming back to Argentina quite often.
Yeah, yeah. Someone's asked in the chat about that village in America, the libertarian village.
Oh yes,
So this was Grafton in New Hampshire, which is the so-called Freetown Project. And Ollie was talking about this at the start of the show. There's a book about it called "A Libertarian Walks into a Bear," and essentially the whole thing just turned into an absolute disaster, and everyone got eaten by bears. I think. I don't know. Sounds like a Werner Herzog film. Is that essentially what happened?
yeah. It's honestly, it's a fascinating book. You can get it on Audible as well. Where other good bookstores, are sold. But you can get it. It's very good. I definitely recommend it because it gives you an insight into these people's thinking of this libertarian mindset. But
Yeah.
it's not just there, because there was a country that gave up areas to create a free city, which was created by Rishi Sunak's mentor, and this is where free ports come from.
Oh no, but we had free ports before then, didn't we?
Oh yes, but he's the one who came up with the idea
Oh
of
right.
turning
Okay.
these free ports into free cities.
Okay, so basically taking in not
Oh
just the
yes.
industrial area around the port, which is the whole idea. You're supposed to be able to bring in commodities, raw materials, raw ingredients, or bits and pieces. Put it together, make your cake, make your car. Actually, in the industrial area around the port, and then you can export it, and you don't have to pay tariffs on stuff coming in and out. That's a free port idea. They're made a little bit superfluous by our membership of the EU. That's why we got rid of our last free port in 2012. But now, as a result of Brexit, they're coming back.
Yep.
And instead of just being the area around the port, they're trying to make it actually vast swathes of land around these ports, including where people are living at the moment. Not places where you go to live if you actually want to live that life, but literally you're sitting in your home and suddenly you're now living in a free port, which I guess would have its own private armed guards, like the Trafford
Yep.
Centre.
It raises all sorts of
God, maybe not armed.
questions, to be honest. And this free city they created, I think, I can't remember what it was now, but it cut off the water for another town. Like this city that they created just cut off the water for another town.
Yeah,
And they were like, what are you doing? Why have you cut off our water? Oh, well, if you want water access back, you're gonna have to pay us for it.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God,
Um,
it's going to be a disaster, isn't it?
oh yeah.
We were talking about this on one of the shows this week, where we were talking about Elon Musk wants to land people on Mars, but the reality is that like even when they try and have a closed system, forget about the radiation, forget about the bone wastage, forget about the fact that the dust is like breathing in glass, and there's no water. When we tried to make a sealed system city or habitation village, it's always gone horribly, horribly wrong within a few weeks, and everyone's tried to kill each other, and they've had to like give them oxygen and water and food to keep them alive, which is something that you wouldn't be able to do on Mars.
Yeah,
But
no
it just goes to
breeze
show,
for the
I think
dark
this
wall.
is flat roof syndrome. Okay, 100% of flat roofs leak. That's just a fact. That is the physical fact. You leave them long enough, they will always leak because natural erosion from the water that falls from the sky. They will leak. And yet we still build buildings with flat roofs. And it's like, no, this one will work. This one will absolutely work. And we've been trying to do this for thousands of years, and we still haven't learned. Don't build buildings with flat roofs. Because the bloody things will leak. Don't build utopian libertarian hellholes in the jungle or the deserts or on Mars. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, but it's interesting times, I think, in South America, with obviously Venezuela
Certainly.
going on, and of course, the new president in Argentina. And this could all become much worse if Trump comes back in America.
We've got to wrap up in a minute, mate. We can't go
Oh, I
down
know.
that road. Okay,
just
so
I'll leave you on that thought.
I'm right. I'm hoping that this Millet creep, he'll be absolutely castrated by his politically by the fact that he can't actually do anything that he wants to do. I think hopefully he'll crash and burn,
That's right.
and that'll be a warning to people who are thinking of voting for Trump. But if anyone is thinking of voting for Trump in America, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, do you want the end of the world? Do you want World War III? Do you want an American Civil War? Is that what you want? You want your children to have to fight each other to the death for the sake of some horrible old fat racist gobshite who goes around raping women? You wouldn't leave your kids alone with Trump, would you? Not for fact. I wouldn't leave my dog alone with Trump. Oh, can you look after me dog for the afternoon? No fucking way. And these people leave him in charge of a country or want to have him in charge of the country. But at the same time, Biden, I don't know why they can't find someone to replace Biden. Why can't they have someone who's just a bit younger? Doesn't have to be that much younger. I don't care at this point. He can be an old white man.
40?
Sorry?
Is it 40 the age limit for president to be able to run?
35.
35, that was it, yeah.
Not the limit, the lower band. Got to be 35. So AOC, I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a little bit too young still, I think. Yeah, she might be able to run in the future. I don't know how popular she'll be because she's a woman, and you saw what happened with Hillary Clinton.
Well, this is it in America. They are in a very, very much a transitional state where you've got the old political old guard. They're all sort of
dinosaurs.
done. Even in the Republicans, they're sort of done. And there's a new generation sort of coming through, but they haven't got there yet. They're getting there, but they'll get there eventually. And oh yes, if you want to watch a funny video, by the way, watch Bernie Sanders stop a fight in his committee hearing.
I have to say to the guy, "You are an elected representative."
That I have never seen. Like, you see these fights occur from time to time, but they occur in like mostly
Russia.
like African countries. There's mostly in South America where you see these like fights openly break out
in Parliament or Congress or whatever.
And we've never seen this happen in like Europe, but this almost happened in America.
Yeah.
In a hearing, and honestly, if you can watch the full video, it's hilarious.
And what's really funny is it's a US senator. He is a senator, isn't he? And Bernie Sanders says, "You are a US senator. Sit down." It's like getting told off by the head teacher. But the guy who he's trying to have out is actually he's a descendant of boxers, professional. He's like a third or fourth generation boxer. And he's just like, "Come on, then. I'll have you." And the guy's just sitting there going, mate,
But
come on.
what's funny, if you watched Trump Bernie's little committee that he's got, which is the done a lot for unions in this country.
Yeah.
The Republican that's been put on there, he has tried so many times to try and like start fights or start something with these like union representatives
Yeah.
coming in to like have these meetings, and Bernie's had to like gavel him so many times on this.
Get gavelled. Get
but-
gavelled, you bastard.
Yeah, we were that close to having a fight. That close. Break out.
Well-
It would have been hilarious to see. But
Well, the deal to release hostages in Gaza has not been agreed yet. It might be later on tonight. I mean, it's later now in Israel than it is here. I think they're about 2 hours ahead of us. So it's getting on for midnight. So there's nothing now, and maybe it won't be till tomorrow. But Dr. Rapperband is saying, hey, there've been fights in the UK Parliament. I don't think so. There was a guy in Parliament in the 80s, was it, who picked up the mace?
no, it was during the
mace, and
no, it was during 2016. It was not too long ago, because it was one of the Brexiteers that did it.
No,
Yeah,
this is
it was
years ago.
the Brexiteers that did it.
No, this is years ago, mate. The one I'm thinking of. A Brexiteer picked up the mace.
Yeah, there was a Brexiteer who picked up the mace.
Ooh, I don't remember that. Are you sure?
Yeah, he tried.
Oh yeah, Labour MP. That was 2018. Labour MP grabs the mace during Parliament. Oh, there you go. Okay, I stand corrected, my friend.
Yeah.
There you go. But I'm sure that happened years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've met. I
mace
think it's happened a couple of times in.
How did I miss
That's the most
that?
recent one.
2018 was a mad year, though, wasn't it? Oliver Cromwell did it. Michael Heseltine. It was Heseltine in 1976. And then John McDonnell, was it? And Ron Brown. Okay. So yeah, that happened. Right. So, anyways, I'm gonna head off now and take Ollie with me. Thank you very much for watching. And we won't be back next week, because I will hopefully actually be on the border with Ukraine next week this time, if all goes to plan. So I'm heading over to Ukraine next week to deliver some Christmas presents to the kids over in the Kharkiv region, in the Kharkiv Oblast. If you would like to help out with that, I'm just typing in the link to the website that you need. It is simply UK4 UKR.com, or you can go to gofundme.com/UK for UKR, and there you'll find information about what we're planning to do. I'm flying to Germany, and then we're filling up a van full of toys on Monday next, and then on the Tuesday we're going to be driving over to the border. On the Wednesday we'll be going over to Lviv to meet with Rob, who is one of our friends who has been working over in Ukraine now since March 2022, and he'll be taking them in another van further into Ukraine for distribution. He's going to be going around people's houses and dropping them off at their houses, like a latter-day Santa Claus. Yay! So if you want to help out with that, it's all for a good cause. Head over to UK for UKR, and if we've got any money left over, we'll probably do it again for Easter and take over some chocolate eggs, because this is probably the only present a lot of these kids are going to get this Christmas. So yeah, that's the plan. Andy says safe journey. I hope so. We're only going to Lviv though, which isn't right in the west of the country, so quite safe. And also we can get the van back in and out, because they're changing the rules on the 1st of December, and that's why we're doing it next week, because if we don't do it next week, we might never be able to do it. They're changing the rules on the border. Anyway, so thank you to everyone watching. Thank you very much to Ollie for giving us his time and his expertise on matters international. And until tomorrow morning at 9:30, I'll be back for Morning Brew. So until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the chats. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Hi.
Oh, playing Spain now.